So I was talking to my wife last night. We were up pretty late, just talking about how the Most High brought us together in our union. And one of the things that came up was my semen retention celibacy journey. I went on semen retention for over 1,000 days. That's 3+ years. I think it was like 1,111 days to be exact. But in that, I learned a lot. It definitely rewired my brain. I definitely was able to see women totally different. One of the major things that I learned was, there's really not that many wives out here left. A lot of these women are not wife material. And I'll give you an example, because I wasn't just talking to women, to sisters, my black sisters, my African American, Maryland and Queens. I was also talking to, Indians, Hispanics. I talked to Colombians, Middle Eastern women, Afghanistan. So throughout those 3 years, what I learned was a lot of women nowadays, they lead with their bodies. I've had a few experiences, one in particular where a woman came over and, she knew I was on on semen retention, on my celibate journey. And she was like, please, like, I gotta suck your dick. Like, please let me suck your dick. And I'm like, whoa, like, nah, like, I'm good. And I was able to see, like, wow, like, what you trying to put on me? In a way, like, you gonna give me head. And I feel like, it was her way of showing her value. And I'm like, okay, clearly she probably got some crazy fire head, and I don't need to mess with that. And I remember my ex, I had a pretty disastrous, toxic relationship with her. And one of the things that sticks out now when I reflect on it was before we got together, we were sexually active, and her best friend at the time had told her, because I was going back to school and I lived out the state, and she was like, man, well, you need to really just put that fire thing on him and really like lock this man down. And I remember her saying that, and she was like, yeah, like, and I did that, like, I had to really put it on you so you knew like what it was. And I'm like, wow, like, that's how these women are thinking now. And I missed it. I was in the world. I was just, but that I definitely got pussy whipped from that. Like, you get blinded by it. And we don't talk about how men, get blinded by it, but that's a real thing. And when I was on that semen retention journey, I was able to tell the difference between, a real queen, because not all these women are queens. A lot of them are whores. If we're gonna keep it a buck, just like not all men are kings. A lot of them are whoremongers. So I talk to everybody from, like I said, all types of different nations and races to from all different classes. I was in the music industry, so throughout that time, I'm not gonna say which record label, but I was talking to a woman that was a director of one of the major record labels, and just seeing, like, wow, you got the money, you got the nice bands, you got the nice house, you popping, you going to the Grammys, you doing all this. I'm sitting there like kind of booed up with her while she's on major calls, discussing major artists. And I'm just like, yo, but at the core, you're not a wife though, and just thinking about that. You talk to personal trainers, this one chick, again, not gonna air her out, but personal trainer, she was trying to fly down from Philly and to Atlanta, that's where I'm at, and she was just like, like, you trying to wait till marriage to have sex? Like, no, I gotta try it out. I gotta try it out before. Like, I gotta test the dick before I can go into a spiritual holy covenant with you. And I'm like, man, that's not gonna work. Like, but I really got to see what women are made of and the different levels of women. So that's why when I did find my wife, there were other women that were interested in me at that time, and they kind of got the cold shoulder. A lot of them I kind of just went ghost on. They thought it was gonna, be something or could have been something. And when I met her, and I'm like a hawk now, because after my toxic relationship with my ex, I'm a hawk. I ask the questions. I got to make sure I'm getting with the right one. And, I got to see my wife and her ways and her tendencies and, her values and all that. And through that, a lot of these women, I know they probably feel away because I just dropped off. I was just like, hey, I ain't got nothing for you. I found what I'm looking for. And that's it. And all praise the Most High. We just had a baby boy. He just turned 6 months. I'm trying to start my kingdom. I'm trying to start this legacy with the right woman. Because a house divided cannot stand. So that's it. Just wanted to hop on here real quick, give you my semen retention journey. And yes, everything that they talk about in semen retention is true. You are going to get more women. You're going to get, you're just vibrating at a higher frequency, honestly. So, the first month, you feel better, but that 100-day mark is what really matters. When you get to that 100-day, to that 6 month, 180 days, that's when you're like, okay, I'm really in this thing. But when I got to a year, that's when it was like oozing out of me, where women were just staring at me across the room, and I'm like, I had to really be careful about how I moved. I had to really be careful about how I engaged with women, because I was very aware of how I was vibrating, and didn't want to like lead women on. I went through that phase, because you can use it for, it's like anything, you can use it for good, you can use it for evil. So that's it, man. That's it. Again, all praise the Most High. Peace.